Most leaders fail not from lack of talent, but from fear they never confront. Ryan Wickline shows how athletes build grit and how you can too.
Welcome to Rise to Lead, the podcast where heart-driven leaders come together to inspire and innovate. They will share actionable tips and insights that help you lead your team more successfully, advance your career or business as a leader, achieve greater impact, and experience deeper fulfillment. I'm your host, Regina Huber, guiding you through deep conversations about leadership that's rooted in service, freedom, and the desire to leave a positive mark on the world.
Welcome to Rise to Lead, where we're here today with Ryan Wickline, joining us from Ohio. Ryan, welcome.
Hi. Hi, Regina. Thanks for having me.
Yes, looking forward to this. Now, Ryan is a speaker and mindset coach who specializes in helping people achieve their dreams. And that's always a good thing, right? By transforming their minds and their daily habits. Ryan holds certifications from the John Maxwell team as a speaker coach and disc trainer. He's also the founder of Through the Fire, which helps people transform their lives by building self-confidence in their abilities, getting clarity in their goals, and developing mental toughness. Ryan, let's pick that up right away. What does mental toughness mean in your world?
Grit. Grit and resilience. That is huge among athletes. Like working with all the athletes I used to work with, that was one of the things I used to love to develop in them was mental toughness. Like the ability to keep pushing through when your goals seemed impossible. Because we've all been there, right? You've been there. I've been there. Like it seems like nothing's happening. And you feel like you're failing. Well, how do you show up and push through those times?
How do you do that?
Do you take it easy? Do you just kind of let your habits kind of slip? Or do you say, hey, I'm just going to keep pushing through? Head down, chop wood, carry water, man. All about the process.
Okay, so I have a question for this because I've personally often written about also, aligning before you actually take action because sometimes we take action, and it doesn't really get us anywhere. It just really drains us and wears us out. And when we push, but sometimes, at times it's very successful, and at other times it's like pushing a brick wall, right? Against the or and nothing's moving. So what would you say about that?
It's just how you perceive it, though.
Uh-huh.
At times, them hard times is what actually develops you, develops character. Can you show up when things aren't going your way?
Uh-huh.
Think of that as if you were a teammate. Do you want a teammate who, who doesn't show up and can't push through them hard times, even when things aren't going good? That's all how cultures are created, like in the business world, right? Like, how would you look at your culture if one person said, well, I can't keep pushing for us and pull my share of the load for our team, compared to somebody who says, no matter what our record is or how we're doing right now, this vision means so much to me and I care about you guys so much that I'm going to lay it all out here for you.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Now, what I meant is not like, just stopping to take action. It's just sometimes I have found it personally useful to just pause sometimes and really, find that whatever that alignment means. Alignment can mean so many things, right, Ryan? And I'm sure because you do mindset work, you're doing some of it intrinsically anyway. But I'm just curious because I have found that sometimes actually, taking a recalibration break. And not break in a sense of, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna not do anything or just not whatever, right? Not just it's not just like a break and going to a bar and drink. That's not what I mean. I mean, you really do it consciously, right? And recalibrate your own energy because sometimes so let's use the example of anxiety. Let's say you want to, make sales, for example, right, Ryan? And you come from a place of anxiety. That doesn't usually work so well, does it?
No, I mean, you got to look at more of anxiety's kind of fear,
Hmm.
like you're fearing the
It is
future.
a type of fear. Yeah.
So I get what you're saying now. So, like, working with athletes, so a lot of what we did, we train in cycles.
Hmm.
So there's a busy time, then there's a downtime. So
Okay.
during that downtime, I always talk about reflection. We get done with a training cycle, get done competing. Then what was it time for? Well, hey, take some time to reflection. Maybe take a couple weeks off to get your mind, body dialed back in, where you're just reflecting on how far you've come and what you still need to work on. And
Right.
then there might be a lull and stuff where we're just working a little bit here and there. We still continue mindset work, maybe a little bit of lifting, running, training. But then when we get closer to another training cycle, then we got to pick it back up again. So it's
Right.
all works in spurts. There's always time to kind of take it easy for more reflection and get your mind and body back into everything.
Yes, and athletes, a lot of athletes, especially very successful athletes, Olympic athletes, there are also experiments even with athletes where they don't just practice physically, they don't do only physical training, but also mental training, right? Virtual
Yeah,
training. So that is very important. And how do you see that work out in the athletes you've worked with?
it's huge. It's everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've the funny story is with a lot of that, I've had a lot of like I was working with a lot of high school kids there for a little bit,
Mhm.
and a lot of them will tell you, I don't need this. I do not need this. And they're so standoffish because they think it makes them look weak to say, oh, I need to work on my mind too.
Okay.
I've had a lot look at me like I'm some medicine man, like trying to push off some ancient stuff on them. And it's like, okay, you don't think you need it. That's okay.
Right.
But the ones I do work with and the ones that realize they need it, it's like, hey, here we go. But then
Well, yeah.
a lot of the ones that say that they didn't need it, when you start working with them, they're like, oh man, I feel a lot more confident. My emotions are a lot more in check. And I feel like and I am mentally tougher.
Absolutely. And it is actually ancient wisdom, right? It
Well,
is
you know what I
ancient.
mean. They look like I'm trying to
Yeah, yeah,
peddle
yeah.
some.
But I totally know that, but I totally know what you mean. Yeah, they think, oh, it's woo-woo or whatever we call it
Yeah,
sometimes, right? But yeah, no, it is ancient wisdom that is not to be neglected. It was pushed down actually for a long time, artificially, and people have been rediscovering it because it's so powerful, so powerful. Yes, and I get that, right? When they think, oh, it's all about the physical. I need to have strong muscles and whatnot, and tactics and strategy. When, even the strategy you can practice virtually, right? In your mind.
yeah. I mean, a lot of it is like all mental. Mental reps will get you places, but
Hmm.
a lot of what we do and what I do is first getting them to believe that they can accomplish anything they want, and then second
Right.
is to kind of turn that mind off when you're competing. You
Mhm.
want to kind of be able to more react to what's going on around you and not have your mind, sitting there with all of its limiting beliefs telling you what you should do and just maybe holding you back from, taking action
Mhm.
instead of that, how when you're getting ready to make it this to do something, that mind will be like, oh, hey, maybe we should do this instead, and instead of reacting to what's going on.
Right. So you've trained high level athletes, right, for a while. And what do athletes understand about discipline or performance that other leaders might be overlooking?
Kind of doing the little things like you
Mhm.
love them, even though you hate doing them. That's what separates a lot of them. And you'll see that from working with a lot of different ones, like from the high school to college level and even the professionals athletes. It's how do they show up and do the little things? Like, hey, I got to lift today and go run and go get a workout in. Do they get it done before they worry about watching TV, go and hang out with friends, go and do the other stuff? Do they show up and do their work first? And that's what's going to separate everybody.
Okay. And not think, okay, what I have, those daily habits also, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much doing the daily things that, looking at their goal and saying, hey, my goal is more important than all this other stuff that means nothing. I'm going to prioritize that, be
Okay.
selfish.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit now, before we move on, about who Ryan Wickline is, and but what made you do this, right? So yeah, I think what I know about you, Ryan, is that you turn personal adversity into a leadership system of sorts, right?
Yeah.
So what's one part of your story that most shaped how you coach leaders in your area today? And not just why you do it, but also how you do it.
So the one struggle that I faced that probably shaped me the most was I was a former alcoholic and drug addict.
Hmm.
That shaped me who I am more than probably anything else in my life. Was coming from that and bouncing back from that and using that adversity to become a better person and finding my why of helping other people. That
Okay. Tell
why
us
that
more
why
about that.
helped transform me
Yeah. And what is that why?
to give back. At first it was that first why was I wanted to help those kids avoid that same path I chose.
Hmm.
And that's what the whole my whole recovery was based on there for a while was helping them avoid that same path. But then I realized, hey, I can give to them all my knowledge and everything, but it's still their choice. And some are going to still choose that path. And you got to love them anyways and let them fail. Be more of a father figure in their life and let them fail and not the mother figure and kind of save them.
Okay, interesting how you see that. Yeah, like father and mother. Yeah, I'd never thought about it in that way. Well, it's, everybody's different anyway, but yeah, you have a point there. So I can see it in my parents, right?
Yeah.
It depends on everybody's parents, but yeah, a little bit like that. So, yes, I, hmm. There's an important point there that you made, right? We cannot live pe other people's lives, even though sometimes we want to do that. We want to push them in a direction. All we can do is really inspire them so that so they know they have a choice, right? Because sometimes people think they don't have a choice, or they just, go with the flow of what's around them, what their friends do, and they don't take a stance for what they truly want in life, what they truly desire. And I can remember when I was young, I also was like hanging out with friends, and what was most important at times was what my friends were thinking of me, not so much what I was thinking, right? Because I lacked that self-confidence that you mentioned earlier at times. So that's really, really important to instill in people, and especially in young people, that, it's really most important what you think of yourself, not just today, but also in, maybe 30 years or so.
Yeah. I mean, getting them to know who they are and to trust in what they think about themselves is probably one of the most important steps. And that's a lot of what I did for the longest time was developing self-confidence in them and getting them to believe that, the one problem I used to run into the most was, and why I started doing more of the mindset work with a lot of them, was no one believed in themselves.
Mhm.
They set such a low bar for themselves athletically. I'm like I expect to win. I mean, that was always my standard. Like, and then that athlete in me, the hate to lose part, that carried over to when I started coaching. Like, I don't want to lose. I hate that feeling. We should have a standard up here. So getting them to raise the standard in themselves and believing anything's possible.
Yeah, and part of it is also because in school we're really not encouraged to discover our own brilliance and our
No.
own potential at all. So
Well,
we
that
just,
and parents, I think a lot of it's parents too hold kids back
yeah.
because, and I've seen it, countless times of parents are like, well, like I don't know why my kid's this way and why they don't believe when they're competing a little bit, believe in themselves a lot more. And then you listen to them talk, and it's like, right there you go. You're sitting there complaining about everything that happens in your life. You don't think they're gonna take some of that from you, and when something bad happens, they're just gonna blame it on somebody else instead of using it as, hey, maybe this is here to mold me into a better person, make me better, to challenge me a little bit, to step out of my comfort zone.
Yes, and some parents also tend to overprotect, right? They
Yeah.
don't want their kids to be maybe disappointed. And so they instill that, okay, you know what? You can go until there, but not further. And a lot of times it's just done subconsciously
Yeah.
because the parents have their own beliefs and they try to do their best, but it's not always really
Yeah.
their best.
Well, that's why I got the mother and the father part too. The mothers are more likely to step in when that adversity starts happening, them challenges start happening to help them over, compared to more of a father who is more supposed to, hey, you got to go through it. You
Hmm.
got to go through it and try to help you elevate through it and make you do it yourself.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I see that. So, yeah, and what we just talked about is also why so many people in general, not just young people, but just in general, people doubt their abilities, right? So, what's in your opinion like a more subtle limiting belief that you have seen in even in strong performers that undermines their success?
Fear, like I'm not good enough.
Hmm.
Everybody has that voice.
Hmm.
I mean, everybody has that voice, and them self sabotaging things that happen to them. Like everybody has it, from you to me. Always
Hmm.
has that voice at certain times, like, hey, can I do this? When
Hmm.
that struggle and adversity happens at times, or challenges arise, there's a voice in our head that says, sometimes is, hey, are we good enough for this? Can I find a way around this? Can I elevate up above this? I mean, we all have that.
Right.
It's not just one person. I mean, but so that's probably the biggest one, is fear holding them back, or the am I good enough?
Yeah. Yeah. So emotions, I have also found that emotions are some of the biggest blockers, and they usually were created when we were little, right? The origin of those emotions, and they will not leave us if we push them down all the time and do not transmute them and digest them properly. So there are ways of doing that, right? I've studied a few of those where we can actually sit with those emotions, feel them, and for example, and breathe through them so that they get digested and they're not pushed down again, so that at the next opportunity they are blocking us again, right? So yeah, so those emotions, those limiting emotions that we picked up through maybe, little scenes when we were little that seemed like nothing to adults, but really big to us at the time. And
Yeah.
they stay with us, right? And when we do not pay attention to them and just always dismiss them, then they will always be there and always come out again. So there's really powerful ways to work with that. It's not always super pleasant,
Yeah.
but it.
You always got to remember too that your brain is was made and it's there to kind of protect you from pain.
Mhm,
And you've been taught at such a young age that pain is bad, suffering is
mhm,
bad. So that brain is there and it's going to try to push you away from anything that's painful or you could fail. Those things, them unpleasant things that you felt like maybe growing up and still
mhm.
feel like, oh man, I really don't want to do that. It's going to try to help you try to avoid things like that, stepping out of your comfort zone. So that's why training it to embracing times of uncomfort to get to become a better person for growth is so important, you know?
Yeah, and I often say, once you actually feel that push to step out of your comfort zone is no longer comfortable anyway. It's
Yeah.
more like a convenience zone than a comfort zone, actually. So, yes. Plus, nothing is without risk in life, right? Life itself is a risk, I could
Yeah.
say. So that's where the opportunity lies when you take a risk. When you really look, okay, what else is possible? What else beyond what I'm seeing right now for myself or around in my so-called reality is still possible, right? And what am I not seeing? I think that's a big part of it too. So one question I ask myself every single morning, Ryan, as I wake up is what else is possible? What else is possible for me today? And I also put that out there so that, that energy out there, right? And then, yes, there comes the action. However, even that alone can open up possibilities.
Well, yeah, because you're kind of manifesting good things and positivity. That's what a lot of people don't understand, and that's what I one thing I truly believe in is manifestation is real.
Mhm.
Like you can manifest any life you want if you get that mind to start believing it's possible.
We are manifesting our life every single second.
Yeah, by
But it's not
even the
always
little
what
things you
we
said.
consciously want. But if we are manifesting it, there's always a piece of us that actually wants that, although we're not conscious of it in a way. So I mean, there is a lot of stuff we think we don't want, but on some subconscious level, there must be a reason why this is coming into our life, right? Like I have stopped actually calling my circumstances, which I have created in a way too, right? I've stopped calling those adversity, even though I used that same word in a question I asked you earlier, Ryan. I just now see them as situations. It's a situation, and that takes a little bit of the weight out of it. And then it makes it easier for me personally to deal with that situation, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people like don't call it adversity. Like some of the kids I've worked with, we call them challenges, even what
Hmm.
are obstacles.
Hmm.
Look at them as obstacles because, like on an obstacle course, you can always find a way around them, through them, underneath them. You can find a way around them.
Hmm.
So just like even changing that little perspective just a little bit, that little mindset shift helps some of them.
Yeah, I can see how the word obstacles can actually work, especially in sports, because there are ways to jump over obstacles in sports and so on. So I can see how that image can work there. Yeah. So when, so, let's talk about leadership here for a moment again. When a leader is stuck, it could be a leader in any environment, right? And not moving, not growing. What's the first pattern you look for in their habits or in their mindset that reveals that bottleneck?
Just kind of, you got to talk to them and kind of see where their thought process is. I mean, that's a lot of it when anybody, especially like coaches that I've talked to, or even
Mhm.
some business owners, they grow stagnant because they kind of lose like clarity on what they want. And sometimes, or they get stuck on like, why am I here at this point? They can't see a way around that next, like, challenge that they're facing on the way to, getting to that next step. So a lot of indecision.
Indecision. Yeah. Yeah, indecision often comes also from a wish to make it right for everybody, especially as a
Yeah,
leader,
you're never gonna have that as a leader. You're gonna ruffle some feathers. That's the
Yeah.
one thing I learned was not everybody's gonna like you and like your decisions, and that's okay.
Mhm.
You're not there sometimes to make friends with everybody. You can't. It's impossible. Somebody's always going to be unhappy at a certain point. Nothing you do is going to make everybody happy. So get used to that.
Absolutely. And that's just not very easy for people oftentimes because we all want to be liked and it's sort of part of human nature. But yeah, it's absolutely important to recognize and to accept that and to then make a decision that is really right for you also. That is not just, sometimes we make decisions that seem right and from based on analysis, but they don't feel right. So I think that's what also where sometimes the value of intuition comes in for leaders, and it's greatly undervalued. But yeah, indecisiveness is like a big topic, right? So you help people go through the fire, Ryan. What's the kind of fire leaders tend to avoid, but should actually walk straight toward because it could unlock their next level?
Just personal growth. That's what a lot of people walk away from is that
Mhm.
personal growth part. And a lot of people don't understand it's that personal growth part on your own in your own self that's going to get you to that next goal in life. Going to maybe help your company get to that next level. Because one thing I used to tell all the kids I work with, this might be your goal, but you got to become that person. You want this, but you got to become that person. Because if you didn't have to become somebody new, you'd already have it.
Right. Yes. So becoming that person, right, through self development, through self leadership, there is no truly sustainable or effective leadership without self leadership, of course, right? So you got to start with yourself from the inside out. That leadership from the inside out is what is way more effective than any leadership skill you can learn in a course. Would you agree?
Yes. That was kind of what took me from one level of leadership to the next was working on myself more than anything else. Like when I'm looking at even different parts, like how do I get to this part or get maybe this next group of people to follow me? As I think John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid.
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever heard that concept,
Mhm.
the law of the lid.
Yeah.
Like how can if I'm a level 7 leader, no one's going to follow me that's above that.
Hmm.
And I can only get my team to a 7 at best. So I got sixes or below me that will follow me. And I can never get my group and lead my group past a 7. I mean, that says it all right there. So everything's about personal development in the end. How can you develop yourself to get more people to follow you? and the right people to follow you.
Yeah. So it's a self-discovery process, right? That is ongoing. It never ends. It really never ends. It is just something that where you can always, always find the next level.
Yeah.
Always, always, right? So you've probably watched athletes rise or crumble, right? Both under pressure. So what's the leadership equivalent of game day, and how can leaders prepare the same way top performers in sports do?
Just learn to stay in the moment. That's
Sorry, can you
probably
say that again?
probably learning to stay in the moment,
Okay. Yeah,
keeping that
love that.
mind dialed in. And like I tell everybody, it's all in your preparation, anyways. You think Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant were out, like their hardest days were their practices. Their practices were the hardest part of their week. The games were the easy part. That was
Mhm.
when the lights were on and everything was easy. So it's all in your preparation, anyways. How are you preparing each day when the lights aren't on? What are you doing in private? Like, say you're gonna have a daily meetings at work. You're a business leader. How are you preparing each day? And then for maybe them staff meetings when the lights are on.
Yeah, it's also how speakers
Yeah,
prepare, right?
it's all everything done in
They
the dark.
Yeah, it's all done in the background, and then you step out. And on the last day, it's not the time to rehearse
Yeah,
necessarily. It's
it was
time
all
to
in the
get
preparation.
ready, to get warmed up, yes, but not to do the dress rehearsal necessarily. It's really that you still need that warm up, of course, because you want to be ready. Like in a speaker's case, it could warm up your voice. You can do breathing exercises and all the, and working on your nerves and whatever you need that at that time. And for the athletes, is warming up their bodies, warming up their muscles and whatnot, right? So that's what you do on that last day of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is one habit that you teach that seems deceptively simple but consistently creates dramatic shifts in confidence?
Visualization, visualizing success. That's probably the biggest. Like I call them the two biggest takeaways, and this is like the heart of everything I do. Is probably affirmations, but Tony Robbins calls them more incantations because there's body movement and we're pairing it up with a gesture, and they're not just, hey, I'm speaking in the mirror, just wholeheartedly speaking in the mirror. It's more putting my body into it and creating feeling with it. So he calls them more incantations of what we do. And then the visualization to go with it
Yeah,
every
the
day.
visualization without feeling is also not necessarily
Yeah. I
effective.
mean,
It,
and
it
using
really
all of our
needs
senses
to
with it.
have
That's
that feeling.
that's a lot of what to start. And the reason why I love visualization is a lot of people don't understand this. It's getting that subconscious mind to actually believe it's possible. If you can
Mhm.
get the subconscious mind to start believing you can do it, it's going to let the conscious mind know that, hey, it's possible. And it's the conscious mind's going to start looking for it then.
Right. Yeah,
Give
very
yourself
important.
permission to go get it.
Yeah, it's very important to remember that over 95% of our behavior is driven by our subconscious in the end,
Yeah.
right? So we gotta start there oftentimes.
But most
And
people aren't even operating in that the subconscious mind. They're operating in the conscious mind because they don't know how to get to that subconscious part
right.
because they're too busy hiding behind the limiting beliefs and feelings and emotions.
Yeah, that's why we sometimes need a coach, like a mindset coach like you, where, uh, I mean, I also work with other people to go to mine, although I have studied a bunch of stuff, in the subconscious mind area. And when you study holistic methodologies, like I have practice a lot of those, you automatically, that's also included, right? So that is super helpful and it helps myself to practice this, but sometimes there's something where I need someone else's help, where I
Yeah.
just say, okay, you know what? Here, not further. I just need either a new approach or just someone who can see what I'm not seeing in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, we all have blind spots. So hiring
Exactly.
a coach, mentor, or getting a mentor or somebody who's been through some of what you're looking to go through to help you avoid those blind spots, to help you get to the next spot quicker.
Right. So
Mm.
let's come to back to questions. You help people build belief. We've talked about this, right? And believe in their own potential. Let's call it that. So, what's one question that leaders specifically, they could be team leaders in sports, it could be any leaders, should ask their teams or themselves to awaken untapped potential, untapped ownership?
Well, the first thing is getting clarity on what everybody wants.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody has their own desires, own goals, own vision for what they want. So the job as a leader is not to say, hey, not to understand that, hey, these guys have their own agenda because they do. Just like I had to with the athletes I worked with, find out what they wanted and try to incorporate that into the culture, into getting them to understand, hey, if you want this, let's pair it up with this. I can help you get here and put what you want, your needs ahead of my own as a leader to help you get to raise everything up to the vision that I have.
Yes, that is so important, right? We have a team vision and then we have our personal
Yeah.
individual visions
So
within that
getting to
team.
learn that personal vision is the most important thing. First, you got to realize what they want because nobody's going to follow you as a leader unless they know that you truly care about them.
Yeah. Yeah, the word care is an important one.
Yeah.
Definitely important. Care about your people. They need to feel that. They need to not just hear that from your words, but really see it in your actions and feel it from you, from your energy as well. Yeah, so um, Ryan, this has been very enlightening. Thank you so much for yes, for enlightening us indeed with your mindset wisdom from your very specific perspective. I love when people come on with different, different areas they work in and different experiences. Where can people find you?
Probably best place to find me is on Facebook right now. I'm working on getting a website up, which
Mhm.
again kind of slow going, but on Facebook would be the easiest place. My name, Ryan Wickline, and
Okay.
I post my podcast episodes on there, as you know, because that's where we met. Was
Yeah.
so I have my own podcast called Through the Fire, where we talk about overcoming adversity and share stories like yours or mine of people who have overcome struggles and are doing great things.
Right, right. Yeah. So again, the podcast is called Through the Fire. So definitely, listeners, check that out. Worth checking it out. I was on it at some point too, not too long ago. So thanks for that, Ryan. And yeah, again, thank you for being with us today. And to all listeners, thanks for tuning in, for sharing this episode with your friends that may benefit as well. And also check out some other episodes of the podcast. You will find lots of gems. Ryan, I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
If something in your leadership feels off, or you're ready to lead with more ease and authenticity, let's talk. In a free 60-minute Lead and Thrive session, we'll cut through the noise, get honest about what's really going on, and map out your next bold move. No cookie cutter, no surface level, just real clarity and the freedom to lead as you. Spots are limited. Go to transformyourperformance.com/lead thrive session to grab yours. Lead like you mean it.